Drive Mag riders had the R18 before me, so I just gotta get all of that off. Just a moment, just won't take long. If this review ended just after the first 50 kilometers of me riding it, I would have told you that it's a sluggish, vibrating cow of a bike which has no place being in 2020. But then I kept on riding, and oh boy, am I glad I did. Getting on the R18 and starting it for the first time reminded me of the first time I got on a motorcycle. Feelings of excitement, wonder and fear all packed into one. The bike is definitely not apologetic with the way it thrashes you around when you start it up and the way it grumbles at low RPM and vibrates at high RPM. And that is all part of the charm. BMW has managed to capture the essence of old school motorcycling and bring it to 2020.
As highways are regarded as an unnecessary evil for any bike rider, that's where I went first.
About to cruise on the highway on a cruiser. Pom pom. A white transit van, what a cliche. Calling this a highway rider would be the same as calling the Spice Girls a classic rock band. It's just not gonna happen. I'm doing 100 now. I don't really want to do more than that because I'm sort of acting like a parachute here. No part of my body is protected from the wind. The bane of all motorcycle riders. What is impressive though is how planted down this bike is. I'm moving left and right, or my body's moving left and right because of the wind pummeling me. But the bike is just staying on its own little track there. Not bothered at all. Yeah, we're at 130 now. This is not comfortable at all. I wouldn't do this for long periods of time. So go back down to 100. That's more manageable. I'm like an ostrich now. I'm very interested in all the shiny stuff. It's attracting me. The sun's glinting down on them, and I feel the need to just stare at them like an ostrich. They like shiny stuff, don't they? Or is it badgers? I don't think it's badgers. As long as you're in that sweet spot of between 2000 and 3000 RPM, you're not gonna have any issues whatsoever with vibrations, any vibrations. It is smooth as silk.
With the highways being such an unfriendly place for the R18, I moved on to more familiar territory. The city, where you will most probably spend a lot of time riding this cruiser.
This is probably how it feels to be a superstar. Everyone just staring at you. Man, it looks beautiful in the sun.
Vibrations on the R18 are pretty much built in. BMW obviously knows how to build boxers which don't vibrate, but these ones seem to be engineered into the bike, sort of like engineered unrefinement. You will feel them at idle, under heavy acceleration and at low RPM.
It's like a massage for your butt every time this thing vibrates, and we all like massages. Try some lane splitting. I mean, it can be done, but you know, should it? Oh, the big cylinders aren't wider than your handlebars, so as long as you can fit with your handlebars, you're not gonna have a problem lane splitting. God, this thing just loves to be under-revved. And over-revved. That's when it gives you those massages. I love that. I know it's childish, but I love it. Don't judge me. Let's not scare the Glovo guy. Salud.
Keyless ride is pretty much the only creature comfort you get on the big boxer, which is useful for city riding. Apart from that, it's as naked as a naked cruiser comes.
There's a man with an automatic rifle. That's not normal in Romania. That is torquey. That is a lot of torquiness. After about 4,000 RPM, it starts vibrating quite a lot, but you are getting close to the red line. Today's like red traffic light day. I'm catching like all of them. They're like Pokemons. This is very well balanced. Center of gravity is extremely low. Yeah, thanks man, I just washed it. Thanks. Idiots.
The R18 is a fingerprint and water spot magnet. If you ride in wet or dirty environments, be prepared to spend your evenings cleaning your baby for when it gets dirty the next day.
As I was saying, because it's wider at the bottom here and the center of gravity is lower, this thing is like on rails. From looking at it, it looks like it should take quite a lot of effort to persuade it to change direction, but because of the boxer cylinder sticking out, it's actually quite agile. It's not a bad thing to have in the city. Sitting at a traffic light, you would expect these to generate a hell of a lot of heat, but they don't. They really don't. Especially on your legs, there's nothing that's coming this way. That oil cooler is doing a great job. If you're wearing an open helmet or one of those non-helmet helmets, I don't know what you call them, or brain cap or something, and you're sitting at a traffic light, you might feel a bit of heat coming straight up, but I mean, that's just physics. Heat rises. But it doesn't bother you in the least, so I have no problem saying that there are absolutely no heat issues on the R18. It's gonna take you a while to get used to this whole vibrating thing at idle. There's nothing that's coming through my butt or my legs or anything else but my arms. So basically this side of the bike is vibrating. The horn is once again a disgrace. I don't know why bike companies keep doing this. I'm ashamed to use it, and I promise I'll never use it again. This thing looks like a behemoth. It needs like a ship horn or something. A little tiny puny horn. This is by no means of the word a sporty bike. It's actually quite sluggish, I would say. Everything just takes a while to get there, to spool up, let's call it that. It's definitely got the power to walk the walk, but it just likes to take its time to get there, slowly. And this puts you in a different sort of mood when you ride it. A more calm, more relaxed one. You enjoy the scenery a lot more. There's actually quite a lot of gurgling noise, let's call it that, when you're accelerating. It's not throughout the entire rev range, it's just pretty much at the beginning. It's quite satisfying in the city. It's making me ride so relaxed. I don't know why I'm lane splitting. I'm relaxed. I'm zen. Take it slow. See things you haven't seen before. Yay, another red light. Just looks so beautiful when the sun is shining on it, especially this yellow sort of sunset sky. The black, the chrome, the two huge cylinders sticking out, it's very attractive. That's the word. It attracts things. 100 k's an hour at 2,200 RPM. This thing likes to take everything slow, not stressed out at all. Enjoy life, look around. I'm starting to feel like a cruiser rider now, like Terminator with his fat boy. I'm sure he didn't feel anything, he's a robot. But I'm enjoying seeing this in front of me, even though I'm looking forward. It's in my peripheral vision. I enjoy seeing it a lot. That's probably why the wind issue isn't bothering me anymore. Not a lot anyway. I don't know, I would never ride a naked cruiser for 10 hours a day. Highways and back roads, mixed roads. I wouldn't. I would keep it for short rides. That would make me smile a lot. Definitely would ride it in town. I keep finding myself opening the throttle for no reason whatsoever. This guy's not going faster. But it's already trained me that if I do that, it'll just give me a beautiful sound and a lot of nice vibrations on my bum. So I guess I do this from now on. Even with the wind hitting me absolutely everywhere, this thing is on rails. It doesn't move left or right, it just keeps a straight line. See, when it stops, its steering angle is very awkward. And obviously when it's stopped, you'll feel all of its weight. It's a heavy bike. You can feel that it's a heavy bike.
If you are worried about the bike's massive weight, fear no more. The Germans have your back. They have implemented a built-in system where every time you go on twisties, the foot pegs scrape the ground, shaving off entire grams off of the bike's weight.
I'm not expecting a lot from its turning circle. Let's give it a try. Yeah.
The R18's reverse gear is an optional but is highly recommended so you don't look like a fool in every parking lot. And also it's very cool.
Alright, for reverse, you want to put it in neutral, switch the little gear, R will come up there, and then just press the starter button. And that's pretty much its top speed. It's not a lot, but it should definitely help you out because the turning circle is just rubbish. But the reverse is great. Man, that sound.
Moving away from the city, how about a relaxing backroads ride?
You can never get tired of that low down torque. That is addictive. The mirrors are perfectly okay-ish. You can see everything behind you. They don't vibrate. I'm sure they could have squeezed in a bit more glass if they didn't make them round, but I guess this is the perfect idea of form over function, since they are old school looking round chromed mirrors, but they're fine. No complaints with that. Fourth gear, 60 to 100 kilometers per hour. I found that to be my zen zone, my chill out zone. The bike doesn't vibrate absolutely at all at this speed. We're doing 2000 RPM. It's just very relaxing, which is, you know, I guess the way a cruiser should be, just cruising along. If you need to quickly overtake or something, plenty of power. But fourth is my happy gear. I found myself spending most of today just riding with one hand on and just pretty much enjoying the scenery. Not riding fast, not riding sporty, just chilled out, zen. This would be the perfect toy to get on after a hard day's work and just go cruise around for an hour or two, relax. It somehow brings me back to old school motorcycling. Even if I know that my throttle is controlled by a computer and I know the brakes are controlled by another computer, somehow I feel a lot closer to the elements when I'm riding this. All of that computer stuff, all of those electronics, they just disappear. I don't even think about them. It's great to know that they're there, but it feels like I'm directly connected to the controls of the bike.
Germans aren't known for their great sense of humor, but I'm really pleased they call their riding modes rock, roll and rain. Rock is the most dynamic one, which has the snappiest throttle control and least traction control intervention. Roll is sort of the middle ground, and rain is obviously for when you want to be extra careful. It's just like wearing a condom.
And that sound doesn't disappoint. Woohoo! basically anything from 2300 RPM to 3000. That's where you have all of your torque anyway. The bike is very happy cruising along. Doesn't punish you in this range. There are no vibrations. There's plenty of power if you need it. Doesn't make a lot of noise. Just lets you enjoy the road. Which is exactly what you should do on a motorcycle. Even with its massive weight and size, as long as you're rolling along, it is very easy to flip left and right. Very easy to turn. All of that becomes progressively more difficult the slower you go. So if you have to turn around in a parking lot, you really do need to get that reverse gear. Gear changes are very smooth. I haven't hit a false neutral yet. The clutch is a dry clutch. BMW has paired those with airheads for a very, very long time. And having a slipper clutch in there helps a lot, because with the massive amounts of torque, there we go. If you violently downshift, the slipper clutch is gonna save your butt. The sun just beating down on all of this chrome and all of this black. You don't see it when you ride, when you're looking at the horizon, but you see it in your peripheral vision, and it just makes you smile like an idiot for no reason.
As far as ergonomics are concerned, my knees were bent at 90 degrees, and after about 6 hours of riding the R18, there are no major issues with the seating position. I am, however, the absolute worst person to ask about this, since I am very used to the riding position of a boxer. BMW does have floorboards and forward pegs available as accessories if you're used to forward controls, but the main idea is that you really have to go and test it out for yourself.
And yes, you can stand up on it to stretch your whatever you want to stretch, but you can stretch it all. It's not comfortable, but you can.
Brakes are made by Brembo, and they do the job with no complaint.
The brakes don't have a lot of initial bite, but the harder you squeeze, the quicker you'll stop. I guess you could say that about any bike. Professional consumer advice, people, on your long way home. Follow me for more recipes.
As far as night riding goes, I like to test out every bike's lighting solution, since a lot of manufacturers like to stretch the truth when it comes to how much they invested so you can see at night. The R18 comes with full LED lights all around. Everything is almost perfectly visible with the low beam, and when you turn the high beam on, you can pretty much see everything. The R18 I was riding came with cornering lights as well, and just like on the 900 and 1000 XR, their implementation leaves a lot to be desired. They do make a difference, but that difference is so small considering their tiny light output. Moving on to stuff I didn't enjoy about the R18. The rear suspension has very little travel, and if you ride on bumpy roads, you're gonna have quite a bad time. Make sure you test this on your test ride. The fuel filler cap, I understand it really fits the whole package, but it detaches completely from the bike when filling up, and considering it's chrome, it's definitely going to get scratched when you lie it down somewhere. And that's about it.
No, obviously this is not an off-road machine, but this is the only quiet place I could find, so we can have a chat.
In the end, if you're a cruiser rider, getting onto the R18's saddle should prove very familiar to you. This one is definitely a cruiser, unlike BMW's 1200C, which we don't talk about. The engine is plenty powerful, but because of its minimalistic design, you'll get a lot more enjoyment out of this bike on shorter rides around town or some scenic twisties. And this is exactly what BMW's research told them the average cruiser rider enjoys. They managed to make an analog bike in a digital world, but somehow with all the modern day technology, and this is no easy feat. The R18 is not an all-rounder, and it doesn't claim to be. Straight from BMW's mouth, they are aiming for the custom cruiser market, and this explains the large amount of accessories they sell for this bike and other design decisions like the quick connectors for the hydraulic lines so you can swap out your handlebars at home instead of going to a workshop. Personally, for me, this exact formula with the same character that it's got baked in, but in some sort of touring form, something I could ride all day long comfortably with a passenger. Now that would be my formula for success.
The R18 is really a bike whose first impression is to completely overwhelm you, but the more you ride it, the more you fall in love with it. The more it becomes your friend. This is definitely a bike I would suggest taking out for an extended test ride, since a short 30-kilometer one isn't going to do it any justice. There's a lot more stuff to be covered about the R18. We'll do that in a different video since this was a first impressions one. But considering that as of now, 500 bikes have already been sold in the US alone and 100 in Canada, and remember, it's just come out, mathematically speaking, Harley should really be worried. That's my take on it. Beat me if you have to, but also let me know in the comments below what you think of BMW shaking up the cruiser world. I'm really interested to find out. Well, that's the show for today, everyone. If you've enjoyed it, give it a big thumbs up, and if you think you've learned something new, consider subscribing or becoming one of our patrons to help us make more of these shows. Cheers, and I'll see you on the next one.